So I'm seated in a chair, as I mentioned. You may prefer to sit on the floor, and that is really welcome also. Whatever shape you come to, a sense that your knees are level with or a little lower than your hips. So what we're looking for is, if you're sitting cross-legged on the floor and your knees are up here, we know our belly doesn't have much movement there. It means the diaphragm muscle just under the ribcage can't push down. So making sure there's a sense of ease here in your hips. As you become settled, softening shoulders, finding length through the spine. So is it possible to be seated and also find length through the spine? And if it feels like quite a lot of effort, finding a wall to sit against if you're on the floor. If you're sitting in a chair, maybe you're able to sit back a little but still find length through the spine. So using any support that helps you to feel at ease. And as many of us know, actually they say around the age of 10 or 11, we lose the ability to breathe fully. And that comes back to the idea of being hunched over a desk and just losing diaphragmatic tone, the muscle here being as strong as it could be, and just slouching over laptops, computers, phones, and perhaps not holding ourselves as well upright. So this class is really going to focus on becoming aware of your breath, how it feels in your body, and perhaps creating a little bit more space for your breath, perhaps as we move through the classes, lengthening it, deepening it, and really becoming in tune with our breathing rhythm. If you are seated in a chair, making sure your feet feel grounded, you feel stable. You may like to soften your gaze or close your eyes as you begin to tune into your breath. There's no wrong or right way to breathe. However, there are slightly more efficient ways of breathing. So if it feels comfortable for you today, breathing in and out through your nose. If that feels challenging or restrictive in any way, breathing in a way that feels easy for you. As you begin to tune into your breath, just noticing how your body feels. Are you definitely comfortable? Is there any adjustments that you would like to make? And maybe beginning to find where your breath is moving to. So where in your body can you feel your breath? As you breathe in, where is the expansion beginning to happen? You may find you can feel some movement around your collarbones. Perhaps you notice some movement in your ribcage, front and the back of your body. Maybe you notice your belly rising and falling. So bringing your awareness to the location of your breath, where you can feel the movement in your body. Then you might like to move on to the origin of your breath. So as you breathe in, where do you feel your breath starts? Whereabouts in the body does it feel like the movement begins? You may like to begin to feel into the frequency of your breath. So, how often you're breathing, or how many seconds your inhalation, your exhalation is taking. We're not looking for particular numbers here, just a sense of your breathing rhythm, your breathing rate. And can you notice any difference between the length of your inhalation and your exhalation? Again, this could just be a felt sense. Perhaps one is longer than the other. Maybe they feel about the same length. Simply observing your breath. And if your mind wanders, as our minds naturally do, bringing it back. Bringing your mind back to focus on your breath. And then feeling into the texture of your breath. Perhaps it feels smooth, soft. Maybe it feels a little rough, ragged, intermittent. Perhaps calling to mind a word that you may use to describe the texture of your breath right now. Finally, at this beginning stage, noticing if your breath feels deep and long or shallow. And if your eyes are closed, when you're ready, beginning to open your eyes. So we've very gently brought our awareness to different aspects of our breath. And we're going to bring a little bit of movement and find some more space for our breath. So we're going to gently take our right ear towards our right shoulder. We have secondary respiratory muscles in the neck, throat, upper body here. So often if we begin to lengthen and create space here, the breath is able to lengthen and deepen as well. Really welcome to bring your right hand to find a deeper sensation if you would like to. Gently bringing your head through center and encouraging your left ear towards your left shoulder. You may notice one side is a little tighter than the other, depending on which is your habitual side. Becoming mindful of that. And maybe you deepen the sensation on this side as well. Gently bringing your head through center. Then we're going to take the chin towards the chest. And it could just be a very small tuck, but you might also feel the little dip here between the collarbones. It's called the jugular notch. And you could bring your chin all the way to that point and feel a little bit of a release or softening. It might feel very strong. The tops of the shoulders, the back of the neck. In your own time, encouraging your head back up to center. And then dropping your skull back a little and just being mindful. We don't want to take the head all the way back. Just a gentle movement here. Maybe the gaze moves upwards. Always gently with the neck and the head. And when you're ready, bringing your head back to center. I'm going to take a couple of rolls of the shoulders. So you might like to start in one direction and then change directions. Small rolls here. Easing out any tightness, tension, upper body. Finding stillness again. And then we're going to come into a very gentle side bend. If you are sitting on a chair, you might like to take your hand on the side of the chair, gently leaning over. If you're sitting on the floor, you could maybe even have the hand on the floor beside you, easing into. And you may find you feel this sensation into the hips, but we're looking to find a little bit of space here in the intercostal muscles, so the muscles that run in between each rib. You may even like to bring your left hand to your ribcage if that feels okay for you. Sometimes the shoulders can be a little tight, so resting if that feels a little challenging. Feeling into the movement here as you breathe in and breathe out. And when you're ready, finding your way through center and gently taking lateral stretch on the other side. So again, if you're using a chair, you might want to hold on to the chair. If the hand's on the floor, just finding a shape here that feels supportive. And maybe your right hand comes towards the ribcage. It could be for a moment, especially if your shoulders feel tight or it just feels a little uncomfortable. Maybe noticing your breath moving here and expanding here through the intercostal muscles on this side. When you're ready, coming through center, hands can rest wherever feels comfortable for you, and we're going to come into a sort of seated cat and cow. So beginning to bring the shoulders together. It's almost as though you're trying to take the shoulder blades apart, and then beginning to rise up, heart lifting a little, shoulder blades coming together. So finding a sensation in the upper shoulders around the pectoral muscles and at the back of the body. So we're beginning to move the spine a little, and we know the flexibility of our spine is directly related to our breath. So the thoracic spine, it's almost like the middle section, is what the rib cage is connected to. So beginning to find a little bit movement through the spine, so we know we can begin to perhaps take a slightly deeper inhalation. Now you can begin to make this larger if you would like to, even tucking the chin and perhaps even gazing up towards the sky. Just working here with what feels right for you. Working with breath observation today. So beginning to create space and observe the breath after we've brought some movement to our body. In your own time, finding stillness again. And we've worked through the side of the neck, worked through the shoulders a little, we've worked through the rib cage in all directions and the spine. We're going to begin to release a little through the neck. And this is where you may like the support of a hand. So I'm going to take a soft fist here and use my knuckles to gently massage into the side of the neck. You may prefer to use your fingers and massage and almost take hold of, you'll find a sort of tube of muscles and ligaments here. And you can, if you'd like to, take hold of them and give them a little bit of a squeeze. And it can be quite tight, it can be quite sore. So being gentle, still working with our secondary respiratory muscles, releasing, finding space. Using any method that feels comfortable, not painful. And you may even like to work all the way down to the collarbone. So there's often a little bit here as you get down to the bottom, and you could use a thumb to come all the way down to the collarbone, and that can actually be quite sore. Feel it all over my shoulder today. So just taking it easy here as you release through the side of your neck. Resting the arms as you need to, when you need to. You may even like to run a finger up the back of your neck a little as well. Releasing that side when you're ready. Just observing any difference between the sides. You may find you feel one shoulder's a little softer, a little lighter. When you're ready, taking that on the other side. So beginning to either take a soft fist or using your hands to take hold of the tube of muscles here. So this is called myofascial release. For those unfamiliar with fascia, it's connective tissue. It's actually made from collagen. And it wraps around all our ligaments, our bones, our muscles. And what we're doing here is beginning to lengthen and stretch that out a little. But also by doing that, it actually helps hydrate the fascia and the connective tissue. So because we know it wraps around everything, and it's almost like one piece, we're actually, as we're releasing through the neck, we're releasing through the whole body. Maybe you begin to run your finger or thumb down towards the collarbone, getting into any knots, any niggles there, gently, mindfully. And perhaps also gently running your finger up the back of your neck. And when you feel you've taken enough time on this side, releasing your arms, your hands. And perhaps you soften your gaze or close your eyes again. Again, bringing a sense of awareness to the length of your spine. You might like to tuck your chin just a centimetre or two, so looking to find a little bit more length to the back of your neck, the cervical spine. Sense of ease in your shoulders, ease in your mouth. If your jaw feels a little tight, can you invite your tongue to rest in the lower part of your mouth? May help to smile or even take some almost fake yawns, opening your mouth quite wide. And gently releasing. And when you're ready, beginning to refocus on your breath. And as you refocus, noticing where you can feel your breath again. So coming back to location. Has anything changed? Noticing where your breath is moving to now. And then bringing your awareness to the origin of your breath. Where do you feel it begin? As you breathe in, where does the breath begin? You might like to notice the frequency of your breath, your breathing rhythm, rate, just noticing if it's slowed down at all, if it's about the same speed. And is there any difference between your inhalation and exhalation? Whether it's a felt sense or perhaps a noticeable difference in length. Has the texture of your breath changed in any way? If it did feel a little rough or jagged, has anything evened out, softened a little? And finally, maybe noticing whether your breath feels a little deeper. And welcome to stay here, consciously breathing, noticing the qualities of your breath. Or perhaps you begin to use your sense of touch, the hands. Just for one breath at each point, hands coming to the lowest part of your ribcage, perhaps the little fingers resting your belly, taking a breath here. And when you're ready, taking the hands a little higher up, feeling the ribcage under your fingers, and taking a breath here. ready, taking your hands to your upper chest, perhaps fingertips resting on collarbones. And breathing here. Hands could perhaps come to rest in your lap, or maybe you take the hands to the lower back, the lumbar spine, encouraging your breath to meet your hands here. Hands coming a little higher up the back if that feels possible, resting on the back of the ribcage. And noticing your breath in the back of your ribs. And eventually releasing your hands and perhaps taking your fingertips, if this feels okay for your shoulders, top of the back. So breathing into your fingertips here. When you're ready, releasing your arms, releasing your hands. And taking 3 to 4 conscious breaths. Following your inhalation, following your exhalation. And as you do so, you might like to acknowledge any felt changes in your breath, but also in your mind. Consciously breathing, finding a little bit more space in your body for your breath. Perhaps an awareness of different muscles and ligaments softening to enable a slightly deeper breath. Maybe nothing has changed, and knowing that's okay as well. We know that if we're visualizing or bringing our awareness to the different qualities of our breath, we're still activating the same neurons in the brain. Beginning to make and fire up new connections. If your eyes are closed, you may like to begin to rub your hands together, so creating some warmth in the palms of your hands. And placing your palms over your eyes. Feeling the warmth over your eyelids. Beginning to open your eyes when you're ready. Readjusting to the chinks of light perhaps coming through your hands, between your fingers. And when you're ready, releasing your hands all the way down. So I hope you enjoyed observation of the breath. We'll be working in a similar way each week, slightly different techniques, waking up the breath, lengthening the breath, bringing you some breathing exercises as well. So I'm going to vary it a little bit, trying to make sure we're really encouraging and incorporating everyone who I know is suffering from long COVID, and for those who are not, luckily, and finding a slightly longer, deeper breath. If you've got any questions, you're really welcome to stay on and ask. I'm just going to stop the recording here.